And now, Sheila Bair will present our first award this evening to Senator Bob Dole.
Thank you. Tonight I have the rare opportunity of introducing my mentor, my hero, my former boss, and my fellow Kansan, Senator Bob Dole. 6 years ago, the Leadership Conference gave me the honor of a lifetime, the Hubert H. Humphrey Civil and Human Rights Award, and it was Bob Dole who presented me with that great honor. Tonight I have the opportunity to present him with this award. There's a cynical saying here in Washington that no public official is a hero to his or her staff. But I worked for Bob Dole for 7 years, and let me tell you, he is my hero. The senator comes, yes. And I must say, an early supporter of women on his staff who held very senior positions. Yes. He comes from what has been called the greatest generation. He grew up in Russell, Kansas during the Great Depression. When his country called, he served in World War II. And somehow this high school athlete from a small town on the level land of Kansas ended up in the U.S. Army's 10th Mountain Division in the hills of Italy. As with many men from his generation, the senator does not like to talk at length about the war. But 70 years and 1 month ago, during the final weeks of the war in Europe, the senator came under fire, rescuing his radio man, and was severely wounded. When he returned home with the support of his friends and neighbors, he endured 9 operations, exercised every day, and learned to live with only one functioning arm. When I worked with him many years later, he would minimize his acts of courage and resilience. During times of great challenge, he believed he'd simply just done the right thing. Throughout his service in the House and Senate, he also did the right things, especially on civil and human rights. Fighting discrimination came naturally to this Midwestern Republican who had been raised in the tradition of Abraham Lincoln and had served under Dwight D. Eisenhower. He supported the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and other landmark legislation. And as a Senate leader and member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, Bob Dole built bipartisan support to extend the Voting Rights Act of 1982 for an unprecedented 25 years. When his first speech in the Senate was being a plea for federal assistance to people with disabilities, it was only natural that in 1990 he led the fight to pass the Americans with Disabilities Act, the first comprehensive law protecting millions of our fellow citizens. By presenting this award tonight, I have the opportunity to repay Senator Dole for introducing me at this event 6 years ago. And even more important, we in the Civil Rights Coalition and all Americans can thank Bob Dole for more than 7 decades of service in war and in peace. It is now, It is now my honor to present the Hubert H. Humphrey Civil and Human Rights Award to Senator Bob Dole.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much, and I think I'll run again with all that applause. Once I get a little older, I don't want to. Well, I can't see very well, and I can't hear very well, and I can't walk, but otherwise I'm in great shape. If there are any World War II veterans in the audience, I really want to thank them for their service And I know there are probably many other veterans, but, without veterans, men and women who served their country, I don't know where we'd be today. And nobody asked the color of our skin or our political party. We did what we were asked to do, and we had a great commander in General Eisenhower, another fellow Kansan, along with me and Sheila Bair. Sheila's very biased, so don't believe everything she said in that introduction. But anyway, Hubert Humphrey and I were buddies. Here I am, a traditional Republican conservative, not like some of these we have today. But and Hubert was a good liberal Democrat. We both came from metropolitan areas. My hometown was 5,000, and I think his was 3. So we both came to the Senate. He moved from South Dakota to Minnesota, and we served together on the Senate Ag Committee. And Hubert always wanted higher prices, which is a pretty good idea. But one day I brought a quart of milk to the committee and gave it to Hubert. And I said, Hubert, this is for you, and I wish you success in getting more money for dairy farmers. So, we believed in equality, and in the Civil Rights Act of 1964, it was Hubert Humphrey who finally moved the Senate and got that done. And I said in the video there, I remember many Southern friends of mine who kept telling me why I shouldn't vote for the Civil Rights Act, but I couldn't think of any reason why I shouldn't vote for the Civil Rights Act. All men are created equal. They didn't say what color. They said all men are created equal. And we need more opportunities for many young men who are striving to make them a success. And they will, if they study hard and listen to the teacher and the parents guide them along, they'll make it. My parents were very poor, but we lived in the basement, but they were good people, they're working people. My mother gave sewing lessons, and my dad worked in an elevator, dealt a lot with farmers. But getting back to Hubert, I remember after the 1976 election, when I was on the ticket with Gerald Ford, we lost by 8,000 votes in Ohio and 3,000 in Hawaii. That would have made the difference. And of course, Ford had pardoned Richard Nixon. And of course, that made a difference. I used to go to rallies and people hold up a sign, "Pardon me, Bob." And I got the message. But anyway, Hubert came to me because Barbara Walters made some comment, and I still like her, but did she say one night, did Bob Dole cost Ford the election? And I guess Hubert heard that, and the next day he came to me and he said, let's go down and have some ice cream in the Senate dining room. And he talked to me like a father. He said, they're always looking for a scapegoat when you lose. And he'd experienced that himself. And he said, just turn the page and move on and do what you think is right, and it'll work out fine. And we had a great visit. And we used to go to the same place in Florida. I think I was the only Republican they let me in. Because Senator McGovern and Senator Humphrey stayed there. And I think Tip O'Neill came down much later. But anyway, Hubert Humphrey was just a wonderful man. And he's the one who spearheaded, as I said earlier, to get the Civil Rights Bill passed in the Senate. Because, and I might say there are more Republicans voted for it than Democrats, because there were so many Southern Democrats who were, really flatly opposed to it, I guess is an understatement. But we had a great visit, and we were just good friends, and I can't say enough about Hubert Humphrey. I also had she just tapped me, you're limited to 5 minutes. Which is hard for anybody who's been in the Senate. But I'll just say one more thing. I had the honor of managing the Martin Luther King holiday bill in the Senate. We happened to be in the majority then, and Senator Thurman was chairman of the Judiciary Committee. And when the bill came to the floor, Strom said, "Bob, would you manage this for a while? I'll be back." Well, he never came back, so. So I had the great honor of working with my good friend Ted Kennedy. And then I served with Coretta King on her King Commission and helped get her the first $300,000 to get things moving. And, I never understood why everybody didn't get along. In the old days, we had friends on both sides of the aisle. And when I was leader of the Republicans for 10 years, sometimes I could coax some of those nice Democrats to vote with me. And some of the time, those nice Democrats could get me to vote with them. It doesn't happen that much anymore, but Hubert Humphrey was, I just say, just a great American, a great public servant, a great friend, and somebody that will remember, well, forever. And I think he's probably looking down on us now and saying, "Jiminy, what a crowd." They used to have, and then I'm going to stop. They used to have a program called Issues and Answers. When Hubert was on, it was issues and one answer. Hubert loved to talk. And he said, "I love to talk." And he did it in the Senate a lot. And I listened to part of it, and part of it I ducked in the cloakroom. But I'm honored to be here and certainly honored to get this award, and I thank you very much.